Heart to Hearties, our chat with our cast and crew with When Calls a Heart. We are so excited to be able to bring these chats to you in the off season as we anticipate the premiere date for season 11. I'm Dawn from North Carolina, and I have some friends with me today.
I'm Jen from Seattle, Washington.
Hey, I'm Jeanette from Michigan.
And we are delighted today to have the excellent talent that we have for Lucas Bouchard, Chris McNally. Hi, Mike. Hi, Chris.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Yay! Fresh off of your reindeer debut in the cameo in Sealed with a List, how fun was that to film?
It was fun. I think I sort of didn't really think it through because I have a bad knee, and then
No!
once I accepted, I was like, oh wait, he's running a marathon. I go, how much running is that going to be? But I've been working on my knee, and this was a good test, and it turns out that all was fine. So I ran
Good.
in spurts all day with no pain, and I mean that was a nice little bonus, I would say. But it was a great time. I mean, putting on a reindeer onesie and being in a Christmas marathon it was fun.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Good. It was cute. It was cute.
Yeah.
I was excited about it because I think for me the fun part about the cameos is not being involved in a scene or something like that would take a job away from a local actor who was reading for something. Just being like a little pepper, you just see somebody just for a second or in whatever capacity it might be.
Yeah, but I love the idea of pepper. That's a good
Just a little sprinkle, just a little Easter egg. And then even sometimes be like, wait, was that? Oh, I think it was. That kind of.
So to jump into Hearties questions, Gail Kiko of San Diego loves the Christmas movie cameos. Last year, the elf, this year, the reindeer. And she's betting you're getting the epic role of Santa Claus next year and hopefully a lead, maybe?
Well, I mean, who knows what next year will bring. That would certainly be nice. I've never done a Christmas movie as a lead before, and I've always wanted to, so I'm in. I would love that. As for playing Santa Claus, I like to think maybe I'm still too young, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm getting the grace.
Never know.
I think you're still too young.
It creeps on you in a moment, so
You what?
It always creeps in you for aging. All of a sudden, it was like, I'm not that old. Oh, my nephew told me today. She said, "Well, were you 65? Are you 65 yet?" And I'm like, "What? 65?" Like, and I'm the youngest of all of the aunts and uncles. I'm like,
right.
60.
I feel like it has to be. I feel like
When Calls the Heart.
Well, I feel like before we go, I feel like the cameo needs to be an annual tradition now. Like, I mean, you've done it 2 years in a row, so we just need to look for you each year.
Well, yeah, look closely. Maybe I'll be a Christmas tree, maybe who knows? Someone in the workshop. I guess that would be an elf again. But no, they're fun. I'm into the cameos. It's a good idea.
That's awesome.
So we had a gorgeous new Queen of Hearts to start off season 10. And then Lucas brought the radio to the saloon, which was huge in season 10. And Joanne Pinto of Philadelphia is wondering if Lucas will continue to modernize Hope Valley and in what other ways.
Well, yes, I think the radio, and then a telephone in a previous season, those two technologies are, I would say, the biggest things that have come in terms of modernization. But Lucas we're talking about season 11, right? I get confused sometimes. They get smashed together. So there is modernization, but I would say in a different way. Nothing as pivotal as something like a radio or screening the first motion picture like he did that one time in the saloon, but more in terms of the town itself and maybe how the town can be modernized or grow in whatever direction it might be.
Okay, so we do have a lot to cover for about season 10, which probably feels like an eternity ago to you, Chris.
Yeah,
But
it was a while ago.
yeah,
I'll do my best to recollect.
So one of the scenes we talked about was the bluff scene, where Lucas prevented Henry from facing charges.
Right.
That was a lot of fun. We loved how that season the writers really leaned into using Lucas's skills as like a poker player and pass card player, and really sort of used them for good, which was really cool. Talk about how that felt for you with the character.
Well, I love doing that kind of thing. I really, yeah, I definitely enjoy it. It feels like Lucas is really great at the intellectual game, and so anytime I get a scene where there's some kind of mind war at play, I always look forward to it. And Dean Paul is such a great actor and just a general fantastic human being, and so I really was excited to do that, and I enjoyed myself. With the exception of all the flies, it was a very, very hot
Oh
day
no.
in the saloon, and we could not get through a take without flies either flying through or landing on us, whether it be our face or beard or our blazers. So it was a bit of it was something I was looking forward to, and then it ended up being a very tedious, hot, fly ridden scene. But in the end, it looks like they were able to cut around everything or digitally remove those little flies and get it done. But I love them, and I would always look forward to doing more of that sort of thing. And I think one of my favorite movies is Tombstone, and I love how Doc Holliday is such a card shark, and
Right.
yeah, that character is just fantastic to me. So anytime I get something that's a little bit in the vein of Doc Holliday, I get, not that I was playing Doc Holliday, but I get excited by the parallels because that movie for me is just really important.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, and it's really part of, Lucas's a fabric of who he is. I mean, it came
Persona.
with the character from the past, and so it was neat that they kind of flipped it on its head and saw him
Yeah,
use it to help
and
a friend.
yeah, using it for good. And I think he even checks in with Elizabeth about it, if I'm remembering correctly, right? He's like, "Hey, how'd you feel if I use these skills to help a buddy?"
Yeah, that's really cool. And by the way, for Hearties out there, I'm pretty sure there's some bloopers on the blooper reel of the flies that day. I'm
Oh,
almost
really?
positive when I watched the bloopers, yeah, that there was quite a few.
Oh my God, they were really on one that day.
Lucky you guys. We have
Yeah,
a
nothing
Hardy
more.
question. Rebecca Erin, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, of Ontario, was among the Hardys who asked, what was the most challenging and what was the most fun scene for you in season 10? This is where you're going to have to really rack your brain to go back.
Yes, the most challenging and the most fun scene. Well, they might be kind of the same actually, because I loved doing Lucas's speech at the podium because it's not something that I've ever really gotten to do before with Lucas. I feel like oftentimes there can be a little bit of a limit as to how big emotions get at times in the Hallmark universe, I find. And so I don't think I'd had an opportunity to speak passionately to like the fellow citizens of the town about something that's really important to him and to them. And so this afforded me an opportunity to do that, which I loved. It was very fun. However, I get nervous in front of people. And so when we were doing the masters and they were all everybody, the whole cast and all the extras and crewner, I can see them all. And my words, I just forget them. They just disappear. It doesn't matter how how much work I've put into drilling them into my mind. When everybody's staring at me, they leave. And then I start getting hot. And then I really can't remember anything. And then I start getting frustrated. And then that makes me more hot. And it's just
Oh no.
it's a downward spiral. You can ask anybody that's worked with me and seen me do a group scene. Anytime I have something where I'm addressing the group, Kevin's like, "Here we go. Do you know your lines?"
Oh, nice. Kevin.
To say that
That was a lot of eyes looking at you in that
I
scene.
know that.
Yeah.
Well, that scene was really good though, because I remember when we were watching it and we knew that, and we do a group chat, and I was like,
Okay.
what was that? I mean, it was really I think it's a pivotal moment in the whole season. But
Yeah.
was really executed really well. So it was awesome. It's good.
Thank you. Well, thank the editors for that. I was really pleased when I read it that the writers put that in for me. It was I get
Oh.
excited about, new just new things that haven't been done before or explored before
Yeah.
in the world. And that was one of those moments.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, the whole thing of the mayorship or whatever it is. I mean,
Yeah.
that was kind of introduced like late in the season, right?
Mhm.
So we didn't really know the arc until we heard it. And then all of a sudden, knowing that Elizabeth and everyone was kind of in the know, I do like that reveal, that they did it, knowing that like they thought that, well, we thought that Elizabeth didn't know, and then you switched this. Uh, Squid. Oh dear me, help me.
Flip the script.
You can do it.
Yeah, the script. That's it. Sorry. Oh my
That's
word.
all right. That's what I do every time I'm trying to talk in front of people.
And we're doing spiral. For me.
You hot in your scarf?
Exactly. Probably. Yeah. I'll tell you after we record. So Reggie Ma. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna tag on to that I also really enjoyed that scene, the one that takes place before the speech, where Bill and Elizabeth and Lucas, I think unbeknownst to the viewers, right at that point, are have a little ruse of how to catch these guys, and so waffling and making Lucas seem like he is a capitalist, greedy guy after the cash, and yeah, I mean, any time where you're being sort of manipulative for and devious for good reasons is always fun to play. So that I look forward to doing that scene as well. And that was at night, so it was cooler. I didn't get hot, and there were no guys.
So Reggie Ma of Edmonton would love for you to share how you think Lucas has grown since season 6, and how does the development contribute to his feeling that being governor was his calling?
Lucas was a very different person when he arrived in Hope Valley because he had never really stayed in one place for any length of time. He was nomadic in that sense. Oh, look at that. We were talking about dogs. Hello, Charlie. I guess I didn't lock the door. Hi, love. So anyways, sorry, distraction. So yeah, so Hope Valley is the first place that's really felt like home to him and somewhere that he wanted to settle and stay and live the rest of his life there. So I think that coming to that realization, that journey in itself has changed him to the point of just kind of being a tumbleweed and blowing from one place to the next, wherever the wind takes him, and evolving into somebody who feels so strongly and cares so strongly about one particular town that he's willing to do whatever it takes to save that place. So I think maybe he's grown up in a way. He's matured in that fashion, and more so than when he came in season 6, he knows maybe more about himself and more of what he wants and what would make him truly happy. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, so much of season 9 was devoted on building that beautiful relationship with little Jack. So we have 2 people, Jen Cremona of Sydney, Australia, and Julie DeJong of Jenison, Michigan. Sorry, Julie. What to know? Will you see their relationship continue for little Jack?
The big one for the Hearties.
What's that?
That's a big one for the Hearties. Lots of Hearties asking that one.
Well, Highland is so funny. I really enjoy working with Highland. And if there's anyone out there who maybe is, in charge of the stories, I would love to do more work with Highland. I think that we have gone down a path that I don't want to give too much away for season 11, but Lucas is very busy, and there's a lot of issues he's trying to resolve, and a lot of things that are much bigger and larger than just him, and that is kind of occupying the majority of his time. So I would be hopeful that we can continue to see that relationship. And I think it would be fun to explore the new dynamic, because he was, Lucas was little Jack's, his buddy and his go-to sort of, maybe not necessarily a father figure at that point, but a man that he could look up to and have a relationship with. And now that Elizabeth and Lucas are on different paths, I think it would be interesting to look at what that looks like for Lucas and little Jack. Maybe less of a father figure, more of a trusted friend.
Sure.
Which, yeah, that would be great. He's honestly, I know I've said it already, but he's so funny. He cracks me up. Calls me his TV dad. And
Yeah. So cute.
as I'm sure you all know, he's tooted on me, so we're very close.
That's great.
You have that eternal
bonding
bond.
moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well,
He's-
especially as he gets older, as we watch little Jack grow, with hopefully lots more seasons to come.
Yeah.
It seems like there could still be a lot of interaction between the two of them, or
I think definitely. I mean, Hope
Buddy
Valley
for-
is not a big town.
right. Yeah, exactly.
So circling back to the speech that you did, we've got another question from a Heartie,
Okay.
Tanya Agoon from Briar, Washington. She wanted to know, is there anything special that you did to prepare for that kind of intense monologue?
I don't know that there's actually, I did work with the language of it because I felt like it was a really powerful, or could be a very powerful scene, and it was an important scene in the overall story arc that season. So I asked if I could make some adjustments and change some things that I felt would strengthen that speech, and I got a green light for that. So I tweaked it here and there, and what I felt necessary. So that maybe was a little different than normal. But besides that, I just went through my regular process and then really tried to make sure I knew what I was saying, because I knew I'd get nervous as soon as I stood up there in front of everybody. Turns out it didn't matter because I forgot it all anyways.
Did it feel like, when you read that on the script, did the weight of the moment, did that read off the script, or did it become more real when you actually shot it? Does that make sense?
No, I think off the page, I understood what was happening. I knew the circumstances, but I just felt like we can go farther with this. We can, we can try and push forward, and I don't want to say elevate it because that would insinuate that it was lesser before, but I just felt like we could be more specific, and therefore more authentic, and really just drive home the importance of Hope Valley and the importance of it to the people, and why this is such a big deal.
Right. Yeah.
Well, moving on, more Hearties questions.
Okay.
Angela Gabriela of Brazil loved the scenes in season 10, which you helped the children figure out how to get more time at the hot springs.
Right.
Talk to us about acting with the child actors, and will we see you interacting with more kids in season 11?
There is some interaction with the kids coming up in season 11, but I would say it's not as direct as them, or the dynamic with the hot springs and how they kind of were working together, or he was giving little tidbits of, try this, or you got to learn how to negotiate. It was fun to do. I like working with the kids. But maybe going back to what I said before, or what I hinted before about Lucas having a lot on his plate and a lot to deal with and navigate through, I think that took up so much of his time and his world that those issues are a little bit more in the adult universe, I would say. So things are swung more in that direction in season 11. But there's still, the kids are such a big part of the town as well as the adults, and there's so much integration. So we'll absolutely see things between them. But I think that I would say he's more involved with the adults in 11 than in 10. Where he
Yeah, we
was.
would hope with him being governor now that they don't have to call the governor to the school to deal with the children. It makes
Do
a
your
lot.
homework.
I'm hoping.
You never know.
Don't build your homework, do your homework. We will not build sidewalks in Hope Valley. I don't know.
Maybe he needs to come for a career day or something like that. There you go.
Yeah.
Career day with Governor Bouchard. Well, of course, we want to get to the big, headline of the season. Hearties really get attached to the big love stories and the
Right.
characters that we've fallen in love with over 6 seasons here. So can you talk to us a little bit about when you first heard of the big change coming? Like, how did you feel about it as an actor? How did you think that was going to go as a character? Sort of how you felt about it overall, and sort of like how those big changes we've kind of learned that change is inevitable over 10 seasons
Sure.
on the show, and why that's kind of necessary.
Yeah, that's very true. I was surprised when I first heard, just because there had been so much build up, and we'd spent a long time on the triangle, and I thought that we had made a decision. So yeah, surprised at first, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I think that I think it does make sense from a storytelling point of view, and I hope I don't upset anybody, any fans, by saying that, because I know a lot of people were upset, and we went down and thoroughly explored an avenue, and we're at a point where we were about to go 100% into it, and then there was a shift. So I know that there's two main camps, right? We have the team Nathan and the team Lucas, and team Nathan was very devastated when she chose Lucas previously, and then we got to explore this relationship, or the blossoming of it, and the navigating of it with Elizabeth and Lucas. And so in a way, I think it's kind of nice that both parties, should she continue with Nathan in the future, might get what they each wanted, or at least for a temporary period of time. And you can see how those characters interact, and what that's like. So it can make both parties happy. But I understand the upset and the abruptness. And again, like it surprised me when I first heard, but then I thought about it, and I went, I do think that this offers an opportunity to explore more in Hope Valley. And at the end of the day, we're trying to tell as many stories as we can, and change is necessary in that regard. And I think I mentioned in another interview at work one day that everything is like Hope Valley itself is sort of its own entity, and it is always kind of changing, and it's malleable, and people in that town are the same, and they shift and change. And so I think this is a case where we thought we were going one way, and then it turns out that it didn't feel right, particularly to Elizabeth. And now we are where we are, and the stories that we're able to tell now would not have been possible had we continued down that avenue. And I mean, is one better than the other? Like, we're not going to be able to explore stories that we would have had we gone one direction, but I think it offers an opportunity to be a little more interesting in ways, even though it is very there's a sadness to it, as there is with any kind of breakup or separation. But that's also a part of life, and I think something people can feel empathetic towards, and it resonates with.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, when all of us have talked about how we want the show to go 20 seasons, or
Yeah.
it's just a case of anytime, if any of us think about our last 10 years of life, like
Mhm.
life happens. And so, life happened in the way they wrote it. And it's sort of like, it makes you wonder what the next 10 seasons hold.
Right.
And it does sound really exciting based on what you're saying, and very different for you, it sounds like, headed into 11.
Yeah, for me, very, very different. I never would have gotten to, I don't think, go through the character arc that that we just shot. Had we decided to keep things, well, I say we, it wasn't my decision, but had they decided to keep Elizabeth and Lucas together.
Do you feel like, well, first of all, does it blow your mind that it's been like you've fully been Lucas for 6 seasons now? I mean,
A little bit, yeah. It doesn't.
yeah.
It certainly doesn't feel that long.
Yeah. I asked Kevin this, and I'm curious how you feel about Lucas. Like, do you feel after being him for 6 seasons, like you really know the character inside and out, or are there still things that sort of surprise you along the way, or scripts that come across like, oh, I didn't realize he had that in him, or things like that?
Well, I think there are. I think I do know him, and so when you get scripts that come and at times it punches you in the gut, like this isn't.
Is
This
it
is
him? Yeah. Yeah.
how. So then, at that point, you either, I suppose, have a conversation, expressing your point of view, and it may or may not be considered, or and if it's not, I suppose, then you have to get to work and think, okay, so this is how they want this particular story or this particular scene or aspect or arc or whatever to go. So I now have to find a way to justify it and make it work with Lucas. And I suppose that could force you to, or I don't say cause you to say, well, maybe we didn't know this about him or this side of him. But I would say primarily, after 6 years, there's been a lot of groundwork and a lot of track laid. So it becomes instinctual after that.
Do you have the concept of that you have a backstory versus the writers doing the backstory?
The backstory is always funny because yes, I have a backstory for Lucas, and then you get a scene that talks about his past, and you're like, that is not what I've been playing for the last time. But I mean, the audience doesn't know that. That's homework for me that helps me make certain decisions in certain scenes. So, and as long as there is a backstory and a specificity, it doesn't matter if the backstory ends up being changed because you were specific for whatever reason in that scene because of this thing you decided, and at the end of the day, you had an opinion about it and you were specific about it, whatever that scene might be. And if the reasons behind that are changed in the future due to bringing up the past in a scene and laying a new foundation, that's okay because you still had your opinions before.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. I remember Ben talking about having a backstory for Hickam, and then they wrote that episode where he has like 6 sisters or something like that. Yeah. He was like, "Who knew? I had no idea."
I didn't.
Like,
that was a good. That was so funny.
But I like those surprises. They're fun. Yeah. As long as they don't go 100% against like who the character is in their morals and ethics and whatnot. But
makes a lot of sense.
I feel like that's, well, there was a little bit actually, and I don't know if I can say details because it has to do with something. But I read things in season 11 that I thought to myself, oh, I didn't. I did not know that about Lucas.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But did you have the conversation, or you just?
Well, for those times that I'm thinking of specifically right now, it still works. I didn't get a ping of going, oh no, that's not who this person is. Just went, oh, okay, so there's another side of them that. So I guess I'm going back and answering your question differently now. I'm saying yes, I do learn.
Well, I like the way, I mean, you saying I'm getting a ping. It's like you're following your gut as far as what your gut tells you when it comes to Lucas, which is always a good thing. So. Right. We did want to talk about the epic train station scene.
Okay.
It was just so beautifully done, beautifully performed by both of you. The emotion on your faces just blew us away. But we have a hearty question. Diane Jordan of South Carolina. She does wonder why you think Lucas did not necessarily read Elizabeth's grief and doubt earlier. I have heard some Hearties wondering about that too.
Well, I think partly Lucas was very overwhelmed and distracted by the idea of Hope Valley drying up and disappearing. So that in part is what I would say could contribute to the reason. But another sort of more accurate point I would make is that I made a decision that Lucas didn't register those things. Another part of that to me is that I don't think he read it because for me, my own perspective, I have to make my own decisions when I get a script and how I'm going to navigate things. I don't think he saw them because I don't know that they were necessarily there and apparent to him. I think Elizabeth had things going on. I think it was, I think she's trying to figure it out, or was trying to figure it out herself, and through her, the conversation she had with other people about it. But I don't know that a lot was actually visible to Lucas. And so for that reason, he does say to her, I don't know if I can remember it exactly, but along the lines of, I sensed that there was something, but I didn't want it to be true, or something like that. So that's a moment where that was scripted, and I made a decision to, being that Lucas always, in my mind, wants Elizabeth to be happy. That's his number one objective and goal. He decided to lie a little bit, and to sort of test the waters, because this is new information for him. At least that was my choice. New information to him. He's processing it. He's testing her with it and saying, is this what you're feeling? But by saying it about himself, like, oh yeah, I did kind of sense, and she's not denying it. She's approving it. And so this is him learning about that, and then making a decision sort of in real time that she would not be dishonest about it with him, and this is authentically how she feels, and that he needs to step back and let this sort of play out in the way that is necessary for her and her own journey. So I think it's him taking the high road there. And I don't know if I already said she wouldn't be dishonest with him about it, but you know how you sometimes hear stories about like, oh, I broke up with somebody because I wanted them to fight for me and get me back, or something like that. I've always personally come from the place of, well, you should be honest with your partner and not play games. So if this is something that's, if I'm with somebody and they say I'm finished, that means that I'm going to respect that person's decision. They're saying they're finished.
No, it makes a lot of sense, because all of and even as a viewer, all the scenes we saw were really her internally struggling. It was never,
Right.
there weren't a lot of scenes where she was sort of struggling in Lucas's presence.
Well, they were not really communicating at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so interesting, like when you're answering these questions, it was like, you see the evolution of what it was, but as a viewer, but as a character, you are not privy to the conversations with Rosemary or anything like that. So anyway, that's how, I mean, it was just maybe 2 episodes, maybe 3, that we knew that, oh man, this is gonna be
it really felt that you took the breakup burden off of her.
Yes.
That you absorbed the
it.
breakup burden.
Yeah. And that, thank you for saying that, because that's in a way what I was trying to say in a very, very long-winded and unsuccessful fashion. But that lines up with what I mentioned earlier, that he cares for her so much and wants her to be happy. And if it's not with him, then that supersedes his own feelings, and wouldn't want to be with someone who's not 100% there for him. That's not fair to either party.
And it does also seem like there's always the level of like just the communication piece, where women, we tend to assume the man we're with is picking up on all those clues, when if you don't speak them, the guy's not gonna pick up on those things. Like, did you say that?
I didn't know that. Things make so much more sense.
one more piece that Hearties did struggle with, a little follow-up on that after Lucas left the train station, and then we see him in Capital City in kind of this pivotal moment where, you know, the big cliffhanger and what happens to him. There has been a lot of discussion about how, you know, he just made this huge decision to protect the town of Hope Valley. And then that moment when he's in Capital City, he was by himself. And so Hearties are kind of like, he just did all this for the town. Where was everyone for him in that moment? So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that everybody in the town has jobs, families, you know, commitments. And so Lucas's journey to Hope Valley, to Capital City, I didn't read that thinking, oh, why is he alone? I felt like he had hoped that Elizabeth and little Jack would be there with him on the road. But I don't think there's anyone else that he sort of was looking for in terms of a substitute or a runner-up. That would be his ideal situation, and you know, things went a different direction. So he continued along that journey on his own. But I don't think he was like abandoned or not supported by the people that he was trying to, but his fellow friends and citizens that he was trying to, you know, save the town for.
Well, and they did say it was a 21-hour train ride, right? So that's a lot to ask a friend to just, you know, pick up and go 21 hours.
Well, there was also the conversation on the phone that you were campaigning. I mean, I don't even know that Lucas would.
Oh yeah, it was
time,
busy.
you know.
Yeah, he was on a fairly rigorous schedule.
Sounds like. So, burning question. Veronica of North Carolina, where will Lucas be spending most of their time now in season 11? Capital City or Hope Valley?
Well, I can't give away too much, otherwise I'll get in trouble, and then
we tried, Hearties. We tried.
Maybe I won't.
Did what we could do.
So, in a selfish effort to save my job security, I can't give away any spoilers, but I will say that you'll get to witness a little bit of both. Is that
interesting? Okay. I don't know if I can
take it.
Will we see the mansion or no?
The governor's mansion?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I'm having to think about it might give you a clue.
Right.
Like we have limitations in terms of our physical set and what we can shoot, and that'll tie into the overall budget of the season. You know, what sort of parameters are we bound by? And so we don't have a mansion on location there, and I know that there has been a conscious effort to keep the story in Hope Valley physically. I know in season 2, I understand there was a lot in Hamilton, and I think the overall vibe was that folks really loved Hope Valley and wanted to spend time there and not nowhere else really. So from what we did in Capital City, it was all still shot within Hope Valley, just with changes to the sets. Yeah. So hopefully that doesn't get me in trouble, but I don't think that's too big of a.
We talked with some of the directors about even the train station, how they did some set decoration
that was Gowan's Petroleum.
Yeah, exactly.
My favorite's when they build sets within existing sets. The saloon, because it's such a large space, oftentimes will double for things, and they built train stations inside there, and all the hotel rooms. Anytime anyone's in a hotel room in the saloon, that's built in the main sort of floor area, just with false walls. Stuff
I remember there was it season 7 when Elizabeth and Lucas goes to
go to
Union
somewhere
City?
Union City, yeah. And it was, and it looked like it was in the mayor's office.
It was.
Okay.
The fireplace, maybe the fireplace.
Yeah.
Certain things that, yeah, we'll
It's
get,
just
but
so,
yeah,
it's so
that
great.
restaurant was the mayor's office.
Yeah, so creative. I mean, truly, you never knew. Unless I think of people that go to HFR and they're in the sets and all of a sudden it kind of, oh, now I know what it looks like so I can envision it with another kind of set. So it's
Definitely.
really interesting.
Seeing it with your naked eye will definitely open up your mind to all the possibilities, because when you're bound to and restricted to just the lens, they can be very specific about what they're showing. Like, I mean, sometimes we're shooting in a scene and half the set is still the original, but this half is something else. So it's like, well, we got to manipulate the blocking and the camera's direction so that we don't give anything away for this section that was not dressed. And so we'll have to alter how we physically play in a scene to keep that
Yeah,
away from you guys.
So I'm just throwing all kinds of hearty concerns at you today because I have another one. A lot of people were talking about the reason for the story change was, oh, it must be that Chris is leaving the show. That must be why. We know you're in 11, but do you want to share with us a little bit about, what the show means to you and what you see, where you see Lucas going forward?
Well, I can see why they think that, because it's happened before.
True story. Yeah.
But no, that's not the case this time. I know that Daniel was interested in pursuing other avenues, and so they made storyline shifts accordingly. That's not the case with me. I'm really happy on When Calls the Heart, and I love playing Lucas. And I'm not, as far as I know, I'm not going anywhere. Still in 11, and I hope that we get greenlit for season 12. I haven't heard anything
we're still.
yet, but we shall see. I certainly hope so.
Everybody wipe your brow. We're good.
Yes,
We'll take as much Lucas as we can get.
Well, I think Lucas, I would like to also take as much Lucas as I can get. He's a good guy.
So, I know, well, Hearties were wanting or they're eager that Lucas be happy and fulfilled. So we have a question. Hannah Panetta of Dubai in United Arab Emirates wonders if Lucas will be too busy as governor to attend to his love life, or might we see someone spark his interest in season 11?
Well, again, I don't know how much I can say on that without getting in trouble, but Lucas is very busy in season 11. He's got a lot on his plate. There are additional things adding to that plate, which may or may not involve someone. And I think I'll keep it at that.
You just need to tune in.
Yeah, tune in.
Yeah, we'll for sure be tuning in for that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, Hearties are going to greet the new year with this chat. So we're wondering, are you a fan of New Year's resolutions or goal setting, and what are you welcoming in 2024?
You know what? I'm not a person of New Year's resolutions, because I feel like if you have a goal, then set that goal and go after that goal. Maybe I just don't look at time from a year to year sort of perspective. Like, okay, I'm starting a new year, so this year I'm going to do that. It's sort of, if something comes to mind that I want to do or change or shift, I just set my mind on it then and there. So I don't have like a stepping into the new year, this is what I'll be looking for or looking to do or whatever. But I could try and think of some now.
No. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm not waiting until January.
Right. Exactly.
I'm going to do it now.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do remember when I was, this was years ago now, but there was a particular gym I used to go to. When I'm very on and off at the gym. I'll go for, a year and then not go for 3. It's not the great routine. I just remember every January when the gym would be packed and filled, and by like February back to normal again.
Right. Yeah. February 14th, done.
Yeah. Well, Chris, we're so grateful that you took some time with us today.
No, it's good to see you all. And Jeanette, I feel like you drink a lot of tea.
I do?
I don't know. You have
Oh.
a couple mugs.
Yeah, true story. True story. Mostly coffee. Don't
Yeah.
don't tell Lucas. I do coffee, not tea.
Lucas would not approve.
Well, and we're so looking forward to season 11 to find out whatever befell Lucas. I mean, we'll be tuning in for that for sure. And
Yeah. No, I'm what befell was scripted, and then in the final, presentation of said story, it was omitted. So I thought that was an interesting choice. In some ways, I guess it makes it even more ambiguous, right? Like it could be anything.
Yeah, it was very vague.
So
Cool.
I'm there. So that's about it. That's all I can give you.
Now we've got some information. Well, we talked to Lindsay, and she was
Okay.
really excited about Lucas' story for season 11. So those are the things that we've heard, and it has been kind of televised. So
Okay.
we're really excited. It sounds like, we don't know what the situation is, but
yeah,
it sounds really exciting. So.
Well, I can tell you, I had a really good time in season 11.
Oh, good.
That doesn't make fans who are following the characters and are upset and hurt by certain changes doesn't make them feel any better. But in case there's some out there who it does, I really enjoyed season 11. It was it was really good and something different.
We really look forward to it. And to the Hearties out there, thanks for joining us today. And we're wishing you all a very happy new year. And of course, we're looking forward to when we hear the news about the premiere date, and we will let you know as soon as we hear, but stay tuned. So
yeah, let me know too.
Yeah, we'll keep Chris in the loop too. Somebody send him an email. All right. Thanks so much. Bye, Hearties.
Bye, Hearties.